Come on, champ! Come on, champ!
Let's go.
With 1 month left before stepping in with Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather isn't moving like a retired legend enjoying the spotlight. He's moving like a man protecting history.
Double that. Double that. Double that right here. Woo. Come on. Do the hook right. Champion. Jab, go jab. Jab, go jab. Jab, hook right hand. Drop.
Sit back. Why are you shutting me? He said, how you got a opinion? I'm an old man. So record the old man. Oh, whoa. He turned it up now.
Because that 50-0 isn't just a number, it's a reputation that doesn't come with a reset button. People see the cars, the watches, the lifestyle, and assume the hunger faded. But that's the biggest mistake you can make with Floyd. Behind all that flash is a routine that looks borderline obsessive, especially when you get into that heavy bag work. No rounds, no bell to save you. Just 20 to 40 minutes straight of controlled punishment where he flows, resets, then suddenly explodes with sharp combinations like he's trying to remind the bag who it belongs to.
Woo! Woo!
He might pause a few times for water, but there's no real break. Just a constant rhythm that builds something most fighters lose over time: elite conditioning. And that's the part people overlook. We've never seen Floyd fade. Not late, not under pressure, not when the fight gets messy. His legs are still alive, his reflexes still sharp, his punches still snapping like it's round one, even when everyone else is slowing down.
Oh. Hook right here. Right hand hook. Hook here. Hook right here.
That doesn't happen by accident. That comes from sessions like this where fatigue is the opponent and he refuses to lose. So while the world debates spectacle, money, and narratives, Floyd is in the gym quietly sharpening the one thing that's carried him his entire career: control.
6.
Well, if you don't know, I want to tell everybody this.
the last time I made 25 million, I made more, but last time I made 25 million was 10 years ago.
Wow.
I'm not bragging or boasting. I'm just telling the truth. I'm appreciative and thankful. $25 million is still great money.
Sure.
But
it's not Mayweather money.
Well, you know, for the last, I don't know how many years, my guaranteed lowest is be like 32, a little bit over 32. That's my lowest. But you'll also know that in the Canelo fight, you know, I made over 100 million in that fight. And then in a pack, just in 2 fights.
Oh my God.
Pacquiao and Canelo, those 2 fights, somewhere upwards of 400 million. I mean, probably $400 million or better. And just me and sponsorship money. Leading up to the Pacquiao fight, that week I made somewhere 25 to 30 million.
Wow, that's crazy.
So these are my numbers. And, you know, they can say Floyd lying all they want to. If I was so desperate and hurting for money, I'll come back.
You still be fine.
Just when you're watching Floyd turn the heavy bag into a long-term conditioning experiment, Mike Tyson walks into the conversation like a man who doesn't even believe in experiments, just outcomes, chaos, and whatever happens when 2 fighters share oxygen in the same ring. The interviewer tries to bait him with that classic question, how do you beat the shoulder roll? And Tyson basically shrugs it off with anything can happen, which sounds simple until you realize that's exactly how pressure fighters think. There's no blueprint, no spreadsheet, just timing, presence, and that one moment where structure breaks. But what really flips the energy is Tyson pivoting away from the fight entirely and talking about his invitational like that's the real mission now.
Mike, you're looking in phenomenal shape. You look shredded. You're supposed to fight Floyd next month, correct?
Yeah, next month from now, we're ready, whatever.
How do you beat the shoulder roll? He's 50 and 0.
Huh?
How do you crack the shoulder roll?
Happens, you never know. Hey, listen, I think this established my importance in the boxing world more so than the amateur, than the professional fighting, because this is the future. You know, Mike Tyson got a great name and that's over. That's gone.
He literally says his legacy as a legend is done, finished. And I'm sitting here thinking, hold on, most fighters cling to that word like it's oxygen, and Tyson's treating it like yesterday's newspaper. That's a different level of self-awareness. Then he starts talking about work ethic, saying he doesn't see the same grind in today's gyms. And I can't lie, that lands a little heavy because it's coming from a guy who used to spar like rent was due every single day. And then boom, he drops that line about fear, not hype, not aggression. Fear, saying if you're not nervous, you're not built for this. That right there, that's the part casual fans never understand. The best fighters aren't fearless, they're disciplined under pressure. So now you've got Floyd building machine-like endurance in the gym, and Tyson talking like a man who trusts chaos more than systems. And I'm telling you right now, that contrast alone is what makes this whole thing impossible to ignore.
But there's
Guys, one last question, okay?
What part fear plays in the career of a fighter?
Well, if you're not crazy and you're doing this, you're insane, okay? So I worry about guys that are not nervous before fighting because they'll never be a great fighter. Because when you're scared, you avoid pain, you avoid getting hit. And if you're one of those guys that have no fear, you're gonna constantly get hit. And you're not gonna end the game finish. By the time you finish fighting, you'll be talking another language. And that's what happens to those tough guys. And at the end of their career, they're speaking another language.
And right when Tyson leaves us thinking about fear, discipline, and chaos colliding in a ring, Oscar de la Hoya walks in, sounding like a man who's half amused, half confused, and fully aware of how this sport really works behind the curtain. He literally calls the Mayweather-Pacquiao rematch entertainment. And I'm sitting there like, that's the cleanest way to say what everyone's dancing around. Not disrespect, not hype, just entertainment. But then Oscar sneaks in something sharper when he says if it's a real fight with real rules, then okay, it's a legit night for boxing. That if is doing a lot of heavy lifting. And when he picks Floyd to win, notice how he frames it. Not with drama, not with emotion, but with habits. He says Floyd always takes care of himself, always in the gym, always sharp.
Who would you back? Who do you think would win it? If it's a real fight, because that's what Pacquiao wants, it seems.
Yeah, I think Mayweather will. I think Mayweather will take it. Yeah, one thing about Mayweather you have to understand is he's always taking care of himself. Like his body, physically, mentally. He's always been very sharp, and always staying in the gym and doing something physically, right? That's the big advantage he has. I mean, he's an athlete. He's a world-class athlete. You know, watching Pacquiao's last fight, yeah, you kind of feel bad.
And boom, now everything we just talked about with Floyd's training suddenly clicks into place. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern. Then Oscar flips the lens onto Pacquiao, and you can feel the respect mixed with reality. He straight up says it's not the same Pacquiao he fought, and that line hits like a quiet reality check nobody wants to say out loud. But Oscar's not done, because then he casually drops Deontay Wilder as an underachiever. And that part feels like a completely different conversation crashing into this one. He praises Wilder's raw power like it's something out of a comic book, then questions the activity level, saying fighters today fight too little, and suddenly we're not even talking about legends anymore. We're talking about a whole generation pacing their careers like it's a marathon with coffee breaks. And that's what makes Oscar dangerous in these interviews. He doesn't stay in one lane. He starts with nostalgia, detours into business, throws a prediction, then critiques modern boxing like a promoter, a fighter, and a fan, all arguing at the same time.
You kind of feel bad for him, and you know, even though he did win and he did, I guess, pull off a surprise in his last fight with a draw against the world champion, but still, you tend to kind of like feel bad because it's not the same Pacquiao. You know, it's definitely not the same Pacquiao I faced. That's for sure. The one that you know, put me on my stool in the 9th round, so. But I still think that Mayweather will pull this one off. I mean, if it does happen.
And just when Oscar leaves us juggling nostalgia, realism, and a little bit of quiet doubt, Dan Rafael steps in like the guy who already read the script months ago and is just waiting for everyone else to catch up. He straight up says this rematch isn't surprising, and I love that tone because it cuts through all the fake shock instantly. While fans are acting like this came out of nowhere, Dan's basically like, we've been here before, you just weren't paying attention. But then he pivots, and this is where it gets interesting because he doesn't even treat it like a real fight debate. He treats it like a product. He says it's not for us, not for the hardcore boxing heads who argue scorecards at 3 a.m. It's for the casual fan scrolling through Netflix deciding what to watch after dinner. And that right there flips the whole conversation on its head. Because now it's not, is this competitive? It's, is this recognizable? And guess what? Mayweather and Pacquiao still hit like a global brand logo.
But for the regular person that's scrolling through Netflix to see what's on a weekend night, they're going to look and say, oh, Mayweather, Pacquiao, I know those guys. They're as famous as any boxers in the world. And if it doesn't cost me any extra money and I'm just paying my normal subscription, yeah, I'll check it out. And it's going to do big numbers. That's why Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson did the numbers it did. And that's why, you know, we saw them be interested in a fight like Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua and the other events that they have done. Tyson Fury's come back as they try to, you know, build up more in the UK. And this is going to be the same situation.
Dan even admits the original fight broke every record imaginable. But now, years later, it's not about breaking records, it's about triggering curiosity. Then he drops that MMA analogy with Rousey and Carano, and I'm sitting here thinking, that's actually perfect. Because he's exposing the psychology behind it, people don't need peak performance, they need familiar names and a reason to click. And here's the funny contradiction that Dan casually exposes without even raising his voice. The same hardcore fans rolling their eyes right now, yeah, they're still going to watch. He literally says it, boxing fans are addicts, we complain, we debate, we criticize, and then we show up anyway. So while some people are trying to judge this like it's 2015 all over again, Dan is treating it like 2026 business strategy. And honestly, that's the part a lot of people don't want to admit.
This is going to be the same situation. They put out a lot of money to do the fight, but not as much as what obviously they generated in 2015. And, you know, it will be, it'll be a big event. But how much of a fight it will be, who the heck knows? But I mean, to answer the question, I'm not like looking forward to it, but it's one of those things that, you know, you got to write about, you got to cover, and you got to, you know, be involved in because it's still two of the greatest, most famous fighters of all time.
So when you zoom out and really look at the full picture, this whole situation starts to feel less like a single fight buildup and more like three different realities colliding at once. You've got Floyd in the gym moving like a machine that refuses to age, protecting that 50-0 like it's a museum piece that still fights back. Then Tyson comes in with that raw, unpredictable energy, Not even trying to outthink the moment, just trusting that chaos will eventually crack structure. Oscar steps in and quietly reminds everyone this is still a business wrapped in nostalgia, where discipline beats emotion and habits outlast hype. And then Dan Rafael pulls the curtain all the way back and says, look, this isn't even about us hardcore fans anymore. This is a global product built for curiosity, not perfection. That's the real twist. This whole thing isn't trying to be the best fight. It's trying to be the most watched moment. And somehow, all of that exists at the same time. Legacy, money, discipline, chaos, entertainment, all tangled together in one event that people will question all week and still watch the second it starts. That's boxing in this era. Messy, unpredictable, a little ridiculous, but impossible to ignore.
And it's the same thing for millions of people who are going to tune in to watch Pacquiao Mayweather. Again, it is not being put on Netflix for you or me or the folks that watch Boxing Social or all the diehards. It's for
casual
me and my reaction to the announcement of that MMA fight they're doing. And that was my epiphany.
Spot on.
Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think this favors, Floyd's control or Tyson's chaos? And do you see this as a real fight or just the biggest spectacle of the year? Yo, don't ever forget to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters. See you in the next one.